No, that's awesome. That was a great facility. It was beautiful. So from downtown Salt Lake City, where the Bruins played, that was maybe about a half hour outside of town. Um, and the facility, actually, the rink that the Bruins practiced on, only went up here in the last couple of months. Andre Tourigny said when he first came to Utah, and I think they came in April, and he started touring. Okay, where temporarily are we going to practice? Because I think they bought some land in another town called Sandy, and they're going to build a facility. So he walked into this place and he said, we've got a lot of work to do. And
Mm.
he came back a couple of months later and they did all the work. They actually had to put in locker rooms, offices, facilities for the team. And then they put that ice rink in there. So it's in the middle of the oval. There's two rinks in the oval. One rink, so from where Kepke was, it would have been to my right, was for figure skating, and then they put that rink up for the team. But it was an awesome facility. It was really neat being in there and to see some of the Olympic stuff and the facility that they have. That, by the way, Adam, that
Yeah.
the National Hockey League moving to Utah will be a home run from the ownership to the building to the city to the fans. It's going to be a terrific stop on the tour for years to come.
Yeah, that's pretty cool reading about it and you obviously experiencing, but Delta Center, they have, I think it was 16, 17,000 capacity. They have, I think 5,000 obstructed view seating. That's something that they're going to work on to improve the experience watching hockey in that rink and making renovations to the locker rooms as well and connecting them to the benches for the teams as well, which is pretty cool. In terms of what Cole
Yeah,
Kepke has,
a couple
yeah.
a
Oh,
couple
go ahead.
things. So I think the
Sure.
renovations that they were talking about, it's going to take a couple of summers to try and get it
Sure.
going. But one of the things that just all of a sudden popped into my head. So the one of the wireless networks then you can connect to at the Delta Center, the network is called Jordan Pushed Off.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh
Oh,
man,
I
that
laughed. And
was
one other story, since Cole Kepke was talking about golf, and I had mentioned that I talked with Charlie McAvoy before the game in Utah, and I played dumb and asked him, who won, who finished last, and Charlie's like, I finished last with Pasta. Who made these teams? How can you
yeah,
put two
right.
guys with 13 handicaps on the same teams? We needed a ringer.
That's so funny. In Nat Patra, by the way, since we're talking about golf, oh my goodness. We put it on the pregame show. We were laughing. It was the first time that Barry Peterson had seen it, and he saw that. He just started chuckling. It was so funny, and it just looked like we got the video right here. Actually, Mason Lowry having the phone ready to shoot this whole thing was great, and so he's like getting his last minute instruction, and then watching him swing this Judd was just the funniest thing ever. Like the divot went farther than the ball.
I mean, it wasn't even close. Now, listen, I can't execute a flop shot. I really can't execute any shots. But that reaction was spectacular. And I talked to Patra at the morning skate, and the first thing he said when I brought up the shot, I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad. I don't know what happened. And we talked about the divot, and he called it a beaver tail because that wasn't a divot. He said I did replace it. But watching that was terrific. That was a great little moment on the trip. The other thing that I was really hoping we were going to get a chance to talk about had the Bruins won is that
Yeah.
there were a slew of guys that went to a haunted house. I don't know if you saw
Really?
any of this. Oh, yeah. I talked to Nikita Zadorov about it. And I said, did they get you? I mean, this is a 6'6", 255-pound guy. He's like, they got me a couple of times. But I think he went, there were maybe I want to say 10 guys that went, but I was really hoping that the Bruins would win. We could grab one of those guys post game, talk a little bit about the game and then the haunted house, but it didn't materialize.
Yeah, now that you mention it, Lynn Cavalieri, who does social for the Bruins, had posted on her stories this Beetlejuice type character who had said, "Let's go Bruins," and it was completely terrifying, and it was without context. I didn't know that they had gone to this haunted house, so I actually sent her a message. I said, "What was that?" And she explained it, so it made a little bit more sense. But it sounded like just a great experience being in Utah, and to have the NHL in Utah is just like you said. It is a win for the league, especially coming off of playing at Mullet Arena. I mean, great for college, great college rank, but not an NHL rank in Arizona.
No, and when I was thinking about that franchise, and Brick and I touched on it a little bit during the course of the game, and he had mentioned it, really for almost 30 years, when that franchise was in Arizona, there was this specter of ownership hanging over them that really hampered the franchise. What was going to happen? Where are they going to play? Are they going bankrupt? Are they going to move? What's going to happen? And I talked with Michael Kesselring, who scored the overtime winner for Utah in that game against the Bruins, because he's a New Hampshire kid, and we talked about that topic, the specter of ownership. And he said, you know what, I'm a young kid, I don't have a family, I'm just there to try and establish myself in the National Hockey League. But for a lot of other guys who did, they had homes, they had families. It really was something that was on their mind. And now that whole thing is settled and you have terrific ownership and some really good management, that's going to be a team to watch here down the stretch, because they've drafted well, they've acquired a lot of good talent, they have a lot of assets that they can move. That was part of the reason that they made the trade for Mikhail Sergachev. That this is a team that here in the next couple of years is going to be on the rise in the Western Conference.
Yeah, a lot of young talent on that roster, and bringing in some veterans, as you mentioned, Bill Armstrong doing that in the offseason. Sergachev certainly leads that list, but also having some veterans on the back end. Unfortunately, they have some injuries that they're going to have to contest with Dursey and Marino out for months. But off to a good start in Utah and hockey. As you know, there's a great history there, obviously, with the AHL, the IHL, and now the ECHL there as well. So now the National Hockey League is there.